Hey, I'm Jay Kumar, the BassBlaster, and this is your Seafoam and Kistler top 5 of the week in bass fishing. Number 1.
It's obvious that a big fish took a bite out of this big fish.
That's pretty much what happened at the second event of the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour season. Big Fish Bobby Lane came out on top.
Hey guys, I finally got my first stage event trophy right here in my home state of Florida on the Harris Chain of Lakes.
That's right, it went down in his home state of Florida, and even though his brother Chris has won a big one in Florida, Bobby hadn't until last weekend. His win started out with checking every single lake on the Harris Chain in practice. I believe that's 7 total. He was looking for the same thing all the guys were looking for, which is the most consistent, bigger bites he could find. Now, big bites are key in places like Florida and Texas because everyone knows the guys who do well are gonna catch some big ones. Now, Bobby ended up fishing Lake Apopka and found a couple key spots there, one of which Jacob Wheeler, who finished 6th in this tournament, also found. Now, runner-up Mark Davis also fished Apopka, but just in a different section of the lake. That's pretty cool to see Apopka fishing so well because a while back it was so dead it was known as the Apopcalypse. I don't know, I think it was pollution or spraying maybe, or both. Anyhow, Bobby's winning bait was a Berkley MaxScent General Stickworm in 2 colors. Black with blue flake and a blue tip, and also straight black. Now, straight black is interesting. It's a sneaky color in a lot of places. Black and blue is a typical bait color for Florida, which we'll talk about in a minute. But first, number 2. What happens when back-to-back tournaments hit the Harris Chain and then the weather gets nasty? The fish are like,
it's got me under pressure.
dang straight, that's what went down at the Bass Pro Tour Harris Chain event. A winner Bobby Lane's fish were still biting on the last day, but with the wind and the waves and the cold, he had to get them to notice his bait, and then when they noticed it and grabbed it, he had to get them to hang on. Now, here's 2 things he did to help make that happen. One key, he said, was shaking his bait in place. Now, he really said he was shaking his line, which was spider wire Durabraid braid. He said, it looked like I was yo-yoing, but in reality, I was shaking my braid so the bait would move on the bottom on slack line, kinda. Just keep it there as long as you can. Now, the second thing he did is he made sure he was using purple package baits, also known as Berkley MaxScent. Now, you might not be aware that Berkley has actual PhD chemists and whatnot working on their proprietary bait formulas. And those formulas absolutely work. Whether you like MaxScent baits or not, if you try them, you might find out what Bobby needed in this tournament. The fish hang on to him longer. He said MaxScent is important all the time, but especially when you get changing conditions. Cooler temps, warmer temps, the fish get real finicky. I miss my share of fish, but not as many as everybody else. I think what happens is they actually taste that MaxScent. With MaxScent, they get it in their mouth and get it good. Let's face it, it's just proven itself over the years. Yes, it has. The green fish think that MaxScent dish is delish. Apparently so. Number 3. Yep, like Danny Joe Brown said, when there's a gator in the bushes calling your name, you know you're in Florida. And when you're bass fishing in Florida, you better have a Yamamoto Senko or one of the other similar stick baits tied on. A Harris Chain Bass Pro Tour winner Bobby Lane used one, the Berkley MaxScent General. Runner-up Mark Davis fished a Senko. And so did 3 more guys in the top 10 in that tournament, including 3rd and 4th. And in the MLF Toyota tournament on Okeechobee that same weekend, 7 of the top 10 finishers had a Senko or similar stickworm in their bait rotation. You ever wonder what it would be like if the Senko was never invented? I mean, I guess guys would just use regular worms, but it might be more like yeah, it probably would be like fishing and walking on the moon. Anyhow, number 4. All right, if you fish Florida at all, you know that when it comes to soft plastics, the colors, the two colors that you gotta have year after year to fish down there are black and blue and Junebug. But for a few years now, including this year so far, we've seen the rise of the... Okay, yeah, we did see that movie, but I'm talking about the rise of a third color in Florida. You could call it blue and blue, or mostly blue, or just blue. Yeah, that's right, blue, like this, and this, and this. Check what Florida angler Hunter Weston, who finished 6th at the Okeechobee MLF Toyota last weekend, check what he said about blue. Everyone's got a black worm with blue glitter. This one has more of a blue tint in the actual worm, so it's not really black. It's almost like a dark blue worm with blue glitter and then more of a faded blue tail. That color has been so good for me over the years. He's talking about the color JB Blue, which is a gambler fat ace color. And not for nothing, when I hear blue and ace, this is what I think of. Okay, anyway, Gambler is a Florida-based bait company, and yes, they sell nationwide, but when it comes to their soft plastics, not surprisingly, they offer a lot of shades of blue. Does that tell you anything? Now, will blue work in your lake?
If it walk like duck and talk like ducks.
Exactly! Number 5.
It's got me under pressure. It's got me under pressure.
Yeah, that's right. We got the fish under fishing pressure. Then they react to that pressure, and then that puts us under pressure.
Those things are high pressure situations.
Now, luckily for us, the pros have figured out how to get bites in those situations, even when changing conditions pile on. Now, I talked to Mark Davis, who finished 2nd at the MLF Bass Pro Tour event on the Harris chain, about that, and specifically about fishing a Senko. He does real well with that bait all over the country. Now, I asked him if he does anything different with it. He said not really when it comes to rigging, but he does do 2 things differently fishing-wise. One is that he stays about 10 or 20 feet further back than most guys when he's making a cast. In other words, he's making a longer cast with it than most guys do. Now, he says the reason for that is he wants to make sure that the bait gets to the fish before that fish realizes he's there.
He is far out.
Not that far out. Anyhow, the other thing that he does is he says he slows way down and he lets his bait soak. When conditions are tough, pressured fish, colder water, changing conditions, slow bite, he said he sees guys fishing right over the fish, meaning too fast. Now, he also says make repeated casts to an area, which of course means slowing down to do that.
Let's slow it way down.
Man, it's hard for us ADD bass heads to do that. But Mark says if you know you're around fish, it's easier. Man, I don't know if I can do it, but I guess before I bail on an area, I will make a couple, 3, 4 casts to a specific spot and let that bait soak.
Soak it, keep it.
That's all I got for you this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Seafoam and Kistler. See you next week. God bless you.